Hello, everyone. My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
Last week, we had a pretty somber episode where we talked about the rescue workers at the Thomas Aquinas ferry finding a body. And we made a mention that this week we had some spooky footage of things that people found in caves. I haven't seen this video. You haven't seen this video. This was a recommendation. So, I mean,
When did you add that? The second one.
what do you mean?
I don't know what you just said, but did you? I'm seeing something on your right arm. I remember that you
my
put
God,
that
don't-
poisonous ink in that
Every
arm.
video
but
now.
The other arm, you have numbers and stuff now? What is
No,
it?
I
You
don't
keep
have
shooting
numbers.
ink in there?
What are
You
you
like
talking
it?
about? This was my first tattoo.
What is that?
It's my kids' initials.
F-E-M-I-K-E. Oh. But
It's
why?
my kids' initials. I have 3 kids.
And
my
it's
kids' initials.
permanently, that's never
Oh my
coming
God.
off.
Bro,
I'm just
bro,
saying, that's not coming off.
You're starting this video all jovial. We don't know even
I'm
what's in
gonna
the
admit,
video.
I just
The
didn't
people
know-
are going to be like, you guys are laughing and joking before they show a bunch of kids dead in a cave.
Are you sleeving it, or are you going to go that route? Or I don't know what's going on.
All right.
Could be a midlife crisis. I don't
Let's
know.
do
I mean,
it.
It's fine.
What midlife crisis?
No, I'm not criticizing. To each their own. I mean, I'm clean.
You definitely need one.
I'm
You
clean.
should get one.
I'm clean.
You should get a tattoo.
You
You
want
should
me to
get
be
one.
spiritually pure or not?
Listen, that's too late for that. But number one. Number two is we can do like a bet. If I lose, I'll shave my beard, and if you lose, you get a tattoo. How about that?
That's way high. That's a terrible bet.
It's not.
I can't get one.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
We get you a really cool one. It's gonna be hard, but it's not impossible.
Higher power will not let me be
Mm.
properly buried if I put that poisonous ink in my body. That it will never come off.
That's nonsense. All right, here we go.
On May 6, 2019, YouTuber Connor Kelly posted a video of him exploring an abandoned McCoy gold mine in the Nevada desert. However, what was supposed to be nothing more than a fun adventure with his family quickly turned into a disturbing experience, one that would likely stay with the group for the rest of their lives.
Okay,
I mean, David Vigiano does this every day.
this is for fun.
It's like an afternoon recreational.
Shout out to David.
The exploration of this mine started off quite normal, with the group staying silent to avoid causing an accidental cave-in, as seen by the text
What?
they put on screen. However, after about a minute and a half of treading deeper into the mine, Connor noticed
That's the
something
dumbest thing
strangely
I've ever heard.
reflective on the path ahead.
So this guy is saying, let me just see if I understand this level of nonsense here. I'm not an expert in mines or caves. I know people watching this are like, you have a PhD in mines? I don't.
I thought so.
But in a mine, okay, which I assume they use machinery and dynamite to carve holes into the earth, this guy is saying that we're not talking because just talking will cause a cave-in.
Well,
Dynamite wouldn't cave it in, but they're talking would? What?
is this pre-AI or post-AI video? I don't know how old it is.
This is so dumb.
Right?
It's
'Cause
already
that's what
stuck.
today's videos are. They're AI, dramatical, but I don't know.
All right. Oh, is that eyes?
Wow, that is weird.
Reflection? You're trying to.
Is it a bat?
The chupacabra?
Oh,
Oh my! What the?
What?
What is
this?
Shoes? Dead animal?
Is this a burial ground?
okay. Wait, don't move, Wyatt.
What they found reflecting back at them was a shoe, amongst many more, in a massive pile with random bones scattered throughout.
What?
That's a bone right there.
I mean, is this like a sacrifice
just
area?
went a few bones
I don't know what this is.
in this.
What made this pile even more odd was the sheer variety of shoes on display. Many of them were clearly very modern,
Said
while some
kid
were
shoes.
models that were released over 30 years ago. How could such a random assortment of shoes end up in an abandoned gold mine in the middle of nowhere? Things took an
Bro,
even
this is
darker turn
weird.
when the group ventured further into the cave
But it's like, was there a serial killer and that's where he hid the bodies? I'm serious. That's what I'm thinking. That's scary.
and found a bunch of bones, including a relatively intact spine.
So this is water flow.
Bro.
It is getting great.
Wow.
Now it's getting
So
creepy?
we can't trust this.
Can trust what?
This is crazy.
By this point, the group was growing increasingly unsettled by these disturbing discoveries, prompting them to leave the cave as quickly as possible. And that's where the original video ends, without any explanation or resolution. Connor didn't provide any more information in the video's description or in the comments. He posted 4 more videos after this, but none of these videos included any updates on the disturbing encounter either. So, what's going on here? One of the first things that comes to mind is that this mine was the collection spot for a serial killer. This would explain both the shoes...
Okay, but hold on.
Okay,
one second,
wait.
No, hold on.
Everybody's going to think that I literally... You have to admit, tell the audience, did I ever see this?
No, I haven't seen it
That's
either.
what came to my mind. Like, a serial killer used this as like a place to just hide the bodies.
But let's talk about this for a second.
I cannot believe he said the same thing.
Okay, but let's talk about this for a second. I'm not a serial killer, so I don't know. But what I'm saying is...
that's good enough.
I'm not Garth Brooks. What I'm saying is, if, okay, you're a serial killer, how do you collect all these shoes in the... Like, are you bringing full-on victims with their shoes on, then killing them and dropping the shoes here?
No, they
or
already killed them.
You're killing them at your house, and then you're bringing the shoes here?
Yeah.
Like, is this some kind of
You're
serial
bringing
killer
the body,
fetish I
you're
don't
bringing
understand?
the whole body.
Okay, so you... Okay,
And then
so
you, for some reason, you feel like...
You killed them somewhere else.
I would like to take their shoes off when I put them in the... I don't know why the serial killer does that.
No, but I'm just saying. So you kill them, allegedly, like, let's say after your concert.
I think so, yeah.
Or whatever. You kill them. And then what, you bring the body with the shoes on, the dead body, all the way to the cave?
I mean, it's a serial killer. They're not always rational when they do this stuff. Just, I mean, they don't, it's just whatever their fetish is, they like to have shoes on. That particular serial killer.
So weird, though.
But I mean, seriously.
Or do you chop legs off like at the knee and just bring shoe with leg attached?
Well, is it a morning serial killer or an afternoon serial killer? They have different fetishes and different. But another thought of what I thought of with all of this.
Yeah.
Is all of this just a plant that these guys set up the video? They put a bunch of shoes in there. They bought a bunch of
that
fake
is
bones.
way more likely. More likely.
It looks like you can buy stuff that looks like bones. Let's make a really cool YouTube video.
Of course.
And I'm going to throw a bunch of bones.
That has to be it.
We have a bunch of old shoes,
Yeah.
and everybody's going to think, wow, a serial killer.
Let's bring in a bunch of shoes and just throw them in there. Or maybe the bones are real. Like, okay, somebody died, whatever. Who knows?
That
like
many,
a hiker.
That many?
Okay. But maybe the bones are real or whatever. But the point is, it feels like the shoes, they were planted. Now, these guys were on bikes, though. They show them at the beginning. So they rode bikes all the way to this mine. They brought all the shoes, throw them in, and let's just do a weird video about it. That's kind of weird. But it is definitely fun. In today's YouTube, world, trying to make stunt videos like this to go viral, it's way more possible than a serial killer dragging their victims in a...
And they probably were
mine.
like, at some point there's going to be a couple of real idiots that are going to want to react to something like this and are going to find it.
Nailed it.
And they got us.
Well, they got us.
That's perfect.
I will say that you should comment below with your theories. Tell us your theory, how these shoes got here. Don't comment and be like, are you guys stupid? You don't know that this is the gold mine, whatever, of 2009 or what? Like, if this is a well-known thing that we don't know about, we just don't know about it. We don't research this stuff before we react. So don't save yourself the time of Googling, finding out the answer, and post it below. Post your theory with no knowledge, the way we do it. Speculate.
That'd be fun to read.
And that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
And the bones. A top comment on the video also backs this theory, stating, if you ever listen to the Missing 411 videos, you know shoes are a major component of missing or abducted people.
What?
This sent chills down my spine. Which is...
Wait, what? If you ever listen to the Missing 411 videos, you know shoes are a major component of missing or abducted people. No, I did... Why?
And
is this like a...
Where do you listen to Missing 411 videos? What are you talking about? Is that like a channel or something?
It must be. But
Okay.
I'm kind of just a little bit intrigued right now.
Mm-hmm.
And since you have a lot of knowledge of everything, do serial killers for some reason enjoy the shoes a lot? Is that known?
I don't.
This whole thing is just really weird to me.
But let's
True,
fast forward a little bit here.
Oh,
Look,
go ahead.
220 cases, about 20% of them, I don't know what kind of cases,
don't-
involve reports of missing clothing. 176 case descriptions mention shoes or socks specifically. So 15% of all abducted people lose their shoes, apparently. I guess
I
we're
can't
just
even-
connecting it. So maybe it's not a serial killer, just a serial like abductor.
It's just, I'm gonna keep it
Statistical
going.
analysis of the
Alright.
missing 411
Maybe-
data
maybe
shows
we
that
get
over
our answer. Let's just
15%
keep
of the
watching.
cases involve
That's
absent
another thing
shoes.
people are like,
However,
you
this
guys could
theory
have just
isn't
stopped
in-
Not
talking
everybody.
and
No,
listen.
not every, no,
For starters,
most
I couldn't
don't.
find any news reports
Most
regarding
encourage
this
us.
mysterious pile of shoes,
Oh.
which is odd since judging from the number of shoes, this supposed killer would have had hundreds of victims. If this
Wait, I missed that because you were talking like usual. What did this say? What did that last line say?
I don't know.
Can you just go back for 1
Okay,
second and let's read it?
Rewind here.
statistical analysis of the missing 411 data shows that over 15% of the cases involve absent shoes. However, this theory isn't entirely likely. For starters, I couldn't find any news reports regarding this mysterious pile of shoes, which is odd since judging from the number of shoes, this supposed killer would have had hundreds of victims. If this pile had such a violent history, it probably wouldn't go unnoticed by the media. More importantly, many people on the internet agree that the bones in the video are not human. The group in the video reaches the same conclusion when looking at the bones for the first time.
No, it looks like a cow or a horse. Way too big for a human.
Put simply, the odds of this being a serial killer trophy cave are very low.
Maybe it was
But
a
given
centaur.
The animal bones.
But I was just
Well,
gonna
that's
say
still
we did
weird.
find
That's still-
find bones from a horse in Mexico. Remember?
Yeah.
Like a full skeleton.
Yes.
It was a horse that fell into this well or whatever and drowned, and we
But
found the
that
bones.
is still weird that there's a bunch of shoes and a bunch of animal bones.
Scattered throughout the
That is-
area,
that is
it's
weird.
possible it was the feeding spot
that
of a
water?
predator, like a mountain
Oh.
lion.
Oh.
Though, while that might explain the bones, it offers no clues about the pile of shoes.
Right.
One theory I haven't seen anyone else bring up is that the shoes might have ended up there because of flooding. You see, the McCoy mine where the video was filmed is located in Lander County, and from what I can find, that area is quite prone to flooding. So it's entirely possible that someone dumped their sneaker collection in the middle of nowhere to get rid of it, only for it to be carried in the abandoned mine with rainwater. A mountain lion
All the
could
way
have
to
moved
the
in
same
later, which
spot?
would explain the bones.
In a little corner?
The only proof I
don't think
have of
so.
this theory is that the ground in the deepest part of the mine is extremely wet and has water flow marks leading into it.
Yeah, but
Who dumps
so
their
what?
shoe collection? Hey, I got a lot of old shoes in the closet.
Plus,
Dump them in the river.
everybody knows that when you have a worthless dump of anything, you donate it to Goodwill. Everyone knows that.
That's beautiful sentiment.
Other than that, it's pure speculation. That said, another potential explanation for both the bones and the shoes is that Connor placed them there himself in hopes of creating a viral video.
That's
People on the internet have pointed out that the bones in the
guy's
video are a
smart.
bit too clean for something left in a muddy cave by a predator. Some have also claimed that a few of the bones look like they're inorganic fabrications.
Plastic.
Another inconsistency in Connor's video is that he and his group keep claiming that all the shoes in the pile are kid-sized.
There's no adult shoes in there. There's no adult shoes.
He even mentioned that in the video's title, which reads, "Kids' Shoes and Bones Found in Abandoned
Yeah,
Mine."
this was a viral.
Now, while that makes an already creepy situation even more disturbing, it's simply not true. There are plenty of adult-sized shoes visible in this pile. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll ever know what happened here for sure. It's been 6 years since the video was uploaded, and as I mentioned earlier, Connor has vanished completely from the internet ever since.
Maybe the serial killer caught him.
Action Adventure Twins is a
Oh,
YouTube channel
love
run
these
by
guys.
brothers James and Edward. The duo has been exploring dangerous and crammed caves since early 2020. Yet, despite their combined experience, one of them almost lost his life back in 2022.
Several
In
times.
January of that year, the two decided to explore the popular Pettyjohn's cave in Georgia. They had already explored parts of this maze-like cave multiple times before, and had even found an underground waterfall during one of their expeditions.
I've been there with Dave.
Put simply, they were
This
pretty
cave?
confident
Yes!
in their ability to
Oh.
navigate through this cave. But unlike their previous ventures, this time they were going to tackle one of the hardest sections, the aptly named Nervous Breakdown, referring to how cavers feel when going through it. Things started off just as expected, with the pair going through the narrow and claustrophobic entrance
I
to reach
did
the first
this.
open area of the
Oh
Pettyjohn's
my
cave.
goodness.
You went through this hole?
Yes.
Oh.
I remember sliding there and everything. I'm like, Dave, this is what are we? He's like, this is a blast. Yes.
Is it?
Yeah. You're covered in mud. I had
entrance
special.
room.
He bought me special pants for this.
Oh my
However,
God.
it didn't take long for the cave to begin closing back again, forcing the two to squeeze through tiny passageways.
Yep.
But that was only the beginning.
I did this.
After about 25 minutes of crawling through increasingly tighter spaces, they reached the first big obstacle, a muddy room with a narrow and steep hole in the middle. They had to carefully walk around this hole to progress. A single slip and falling into the narrow hole and possibly getting injured.
Why
did
though?
this
Given the
Dave.
lack of safe footing around the hole, it would have been near impossible
See,
for the
this
other
is
person to
this
pull
is
them
why
out.
cave diving is so
After
much better.
successfully
You could be just
navigating
swimming
around this obstacle,
through
they
all that
finally
whole thing.
arrived at
We
the
should do
entrance
this
to nervous
again soon.
breakdown.
Yeah,
Unfortunately for them, things weren't looking good. The area surrounding this entrance had collapsed some time ago, making it very difficult to figure out the path ahead. After looking around for a bit, Edward eventually found the real entrance and was excited to go in.
This is like a happy Sunday for Dave. That's what he just can't. He gets done with work and goes in that.
Nice stroll. Yeah.
He genuinely couldn't wait to find out what was down there and began his descent, leaving his brother behind in case something bad happened. What he didn't realize was that this was about to be one of the worst decisions he'd ever make. Because after descending for a few minutes, Edward called for his brother only to be met with
We got
complete
the same
silence.
case.
I found a rope.
Hello?
Oh, I don't hear James anymore. Uh-oh.
That's not good.
In other words, Edward was now lost in an unknown section of the cave without any means of contacting his brother. At first, he tried to stay calm and continued his descent, hoping to find James before long. However, after staying separated for over 30 minutes, the realization set in. He knew panic was the fastest way to make a bad situation worse, but at this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease.
I can't believe that I did this exact thing.
James!
Yeah, bad feeling.
James!
There's so many
It's been like
passages.
30 minutes since I last saw him.
Damn,
I
bro.
don't even know where I'm at. I tried to go back to the last place I saw him. And everything just looks the same.
Exactly. It's a maze.
Yeah. It's impossible
It's
to
just
trace your way back.
And there's no line.
Jumbo maze.
Without Dave, I was gone. If something happened to him, I'm
We
supposed.
should have never.
Nope, shouldn't have
After
split
calling
up.
out to James many times with no luck, he decided to retrace his steps and find the way back. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the difficulty of the maze he was about to enter. Every direction looked the same. The narrow passages and jagged walls made it impossible to tell where he had come from.
This is
To
true.
top it all off, his situation was getting worse with each step he took. If he went the wrong way, he could easily wedge himself into a passage too tight to escape, or worse, plunge into a hidden drop-off.
these
This
guys
is the
are
true
gnarly, dude.
horror of
I
caving.
did this.
Even if he didn't injure himself, he could have just as easily wandered around aimlessly until his body gave way into exhaustion, leaving him lifeless in a cold,
Was that a
rocky
battery?
crevice. The footage of him excitedly dropping into the nervous breakdown entrance would have ended with the camera recording his descent into confusion, fear, and eventually silence. Fortunately, that wasn't the end of his story. After going in loops for a while, Edward spotted a single piece of tape he saw on his way down.
Oh. The tape. Yeah. Okay, this tape looks familiar.
Yeah, but where's your friend?
You're relying on a piece
This
of
has
tape?
got to be the way.
His brother, by the way.
Where's your brother?
I'm getting close. James! Still nothing.
This unexpected clue turned out to be exactly what he needed. It helped him regain his bearings and finally head in the right direction. Finally, he heard the best sound he could have heard in that moment.
James! Oh,
Wow. How relieving is that?
you're over here? Oh, dude,
He's stuck?
No.
this
He's
place
just
is a maze, man.
waiting.
Oh, hey, I see your light. Dude, I thought we were never gonna see each other. Dude, I know.
That's so funny.
The two stayed together for the rest of the expedition and made it out alive without any major injuries. They're still exploring caves on YouTube, but
With
now
Dave.
with a lot more caution.
And his brother. And his brother. I was with his brother and Dave on
In
this.
January of
Slide
2014,
it
I won't say that we have been talking to these guys and that they found a cave in Alabama and that they reach a point where you have to go underwater, and they invited us to come and go underwater and find out what's on the other side.
But you have to get
I'm
your
not
gear.
gonna say that, but I mean,
But you have to
that
get
could have happened, and we might be going with Mike. I don't know. Maybe. I
That'd
don't
be
know.
awesome. How do we get all the gear in?
Well, they offered to help us
I'm
mule
in.
the gear.
No, I'm in.
I mean,
So I may
I don't know.
come
It
out of
could have happened.
retirement for that. I may come out of cave diving retirement.
People
for that.
keep asking if you really retire.
Yeah, I'm done. Unless there's
One
a
guy
DPV.
asked-
Unless there, I do have exceptions.
One guy
I'm gonna
asked,
announce
"When
my
did
exception.
Woody retire from cave diving?"
No, I'm
And,
done.
and I
Full
said,
retirement.
"Well, which time?" 'Cause
No, I'm
it's
full
been-
retirement. But
I know, but you fully
is there a
retired multiple
DPV?
times.
Like, let's say you said, "Hey, both of us are not doing anything next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Weather's looking good, and the DPVs are charged up." Well, I'm still in retirement, but I'm going to go
You just keep retiring and coming back. You're like the Tom Brady of
with the DPV.
cave diving, just not good at all like Tom Brady.
That is true. I never said I was good at it. Nobody's ever claimed, and he never heard my word "good" come out of my mouth.
I just said,
But I like
it.
it.
sounded wrong as I said it. You're the Tom
You
Brady
said
of
I'm
cave
horrible
diving.
at
That
cave
was not
diving.
good.
Yes,
That's
no
not what I
problem.
said. I didn't say.
know. I acknowledge it.
I say you're the Tom Brady of cave diving, but not in the sense that Tom Brady was at football.
And
Group
what
of
I'm
cave
saying
explorers
is, with my Seacraft in front of me, that's different. I mean, those are rocks.
Right.
That's not cave. I mean,
All right.
I don't want to
decided
make fun of
conquer
them,
the
but
Lost John's Cave in Lancashire, England. It's
Let's
a
see.
vast cave network that spans a length of nearly
England.
3 miles,
This is
or
where all
4.8 kilometers.
the
The known
caves-
deepest section
Freezing
of this
caves.
cave also
Yeah.
goes down a staggering 690 feet, or 211 meters.
you could never
Most
dive
members
that.
of this group had been spelunking for years, and like most other cave explorers, were quite confident in their skills. They had also done their research and mapped out their route in advance. But the truth about caving is, when things go wrong, no amount of planning can save you. Even the most experienced and well-prepared explorers can find themselves in terrifying situations.
Like you.
Which
And
is
Dave.
Who didn't
exactly
even
what
bring
happened to
pants.
one of the members of this group, named Bob Johnson. The
I came with a
expedition was going
flashlight.
quite smoothly in the beginning, with the group
your
using
phone.
the equipment
And
they brought with
Fritos.
them to continue safely.
That's it.
That
Dave's
is
like,
until
"What?
they reached a section of the
What are you
cave
doing?"
called the Tube.
I'm ready to go.
It was an
Oh.
unusually narrow section that required the cavers to crawl on their stomach.
Yep, I've
And to
done
make
this.
matters worse,
Freezing
it was
water.
also partially submerged in water,
Yes.
making
Great.
it difficult to both see and breathe.
Oh.
Despite these harsh conditions, the group decided to move ahead.
Do you know how excited Dave gets when he sees that we have to go through that and you're freezing? He's like, "This is the part I've been waiting for." And I'm like, "It's freezing." He's like, "I can't wait." Something's wrong with him. And he's by the way, he's expert at it.
Yeah. Of course.
The slimmest member of the group went first and successfully made it to the other side without much trouble. The next person, however, wasn't as fortunate. This was Bob Johnson, the man we mentioned earlier. His crawl through the tube wasn't off to a good start, as he was already having issues with the comparatively wider sections of the passage.
Does that look fun? That's what we.
I'm too wide.
Terrible.
He then somehow managed to reach the tightest part of this treacherous section, but that's where his luck ran out.
What do you mean his luck ran out?
Yeah, we covered.
Luck running out means you're dead.
Look at this. Everyone watching this, how much do you want to do this?
He's stuck.
He was completely stuck from the waist down, and any attempt to free himself only made the situation worse.
He's freaked.
Now, being stuck in a narrow cave like this is
How would you
extremely
feel?
stressful on its own.
Bro.
The walls
I want you to really imagine that that's you and you're stuck. And
Yeah.
I'm the guy and I'm looking at you like, well, you're done.
Well, it happened at El Diablo when I was seriously stuck like this.
Unbelievable.
Underwater.
Which we could not see. I could not see.
And without seeing
First
it.
of
Yeah.
all, I was just talking about it the other day. I could not get in. I kept ending up back at the surface because I followed your briefing. You're going to go in, you're going to find a line that goes to the right, and that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Here's a
well,
line
it was
to the,
the
right.
second line.
You left that detail out. And where did I end up? 4 times. I'm back at the surface. Where is...
Yeah.
Finally, I ignored it. I'm like, I'm not going to go to the line to the right.
People watch the video, yeah.
And finally, I get... No, there is no scene. I'm just feeling the line, and I'm like, wow, there's Gus. When I say a line wrapped
Like this
around
guy.
his tank
Yeah.
tight, just squeeze the line on the back of his... There's no way he's moving. He was so
There's no
wedged
give.
in, and he was fine, not panicking. He's like, no, ain't okay.
I'm
I'm
just
stuck,
stuck, yeah.
and get me out.
What am I going to do?
I start cranking the line off the tank, and I'm like,
We made it.
and we're both. Do you want to go back in that cave?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we just went. We went back in. Remember,
I
we
know,
came out and
I
it was
know.
like, well, that was terrible.
That
All
was
right,
terrible.
let's
Let's do it again. Something's wrong.
Right away.
Close in on you, and every movement feels like it's pushing you further into the tight space.
This is
Panic
bad.
sets in as you realize just how little room you have to maneuver, and with each failed attempt to free yourself, the fear intensifies.
And what if it fills
But
up?
as
What
if
if
the
it rains?
confined space wasn't enough to make his heart race,
you're dead.
Bob now had to
Quickly
contend
it
with
floods.
something
You're
far
dead.
more
Yeah.
terrifying: the rapidly flowing water. Water makes any caving venture 10 times worse. In a dry cave, even if you're stuck, you still have time to think and plan your escape. But when water starts to rise, the situation shifts from bad to life-threatening. The feeling of water creeping up around you in an already claustrophobic space
It's
is
horrible.
a nightmare on its own.
Yeah.
The real danger with water,
Nothing good
however,
about this.
is that you have mere minutes before drowning becomes a very real possibility.
Yep.
Bob knew this possibility all too well. He gave his all to free himself. Unfortunately, the water was quickly filling up his suit, making it even more difficult to squeeze through. But when the situation seemed hopeless, one of the members had an idea that ended up saving Bob's life. Instead of pushing forward, the members behind him tried pulling him back.
let's go back.
And it worked.
Yeah, it looks tight.
By the way, this doesn't always work. Sometimes you're going forward, and then on the way back, you can't. Like with diving
Bob was finally
specifically.
free, though his troubles weren't over. He later revealed in a comment that him and the 2 members who pulled him back had crawled for another 3 hours to get out of the cave from a different exit.
What?
This incident also left him traumatized to the point where he can't even watch this video without becoming anxious. From what I can find, he scaled back on caving and picked up a much safer hobby in cycling, and
Bro.
now appears to be doing just fine.
Good for you. Cycling.
I'm
better.
not kidding you. I have done
On the 7th of September
stuff
2024, the action...
with Dave, and by the time I got back to the campground, which we got lost once, Dave was 100% lost, Dave.
Yeah.
And I had to climb a mountain. At night, we're climbing. Finally, we saw your brother saw some flickering lights way out in the distance. That distant, he's like, we'll go there. I'm like, go there. It's a house 14 miles away. Well, that's where we're going to go. And I'm, you know me. At that point,
Exhausted.
I'm like, God, I can't even walk. And we got there. Like, we got back to our campground at like 3 a.m. I exhausted.
Yeah.
And they were like, that was awesome. Let's light a campfire and celebrate. We want to go again next weekend? No. I don't.
All right.
Adventure Twins YouTube channel posted a video exploring a mysterious cave someone found on their property. This is the same channel we talked about earlier, where the 2 brothers got separated and almost lost their lives in the maze-like
James
cave.
and Edward.
They've learned their lessons since and approached this one
Have
with
they?
far more caution. But with an entrance as life-threatening as this one, even the best precautions could have proven to not be enough.
All right, so the guy dropped us off halfway up the hill, and he doesn't know anybody who's been down this thing, but we were at the
Dr.
cave.
Dave.
He says he threw a rope down it with a rock, and it was 200 feet deep before it stopped.
Wow.
So we got this stick here. We're gonna see if our rope reaches.
Okay, you can hear it.
I mean, you're dead if you make
It's
that fall.
still. Oh, you were right. It kept going.
This alone is enough to terrify most people, with one person stating, "This channel has given me a new fear about walking in the woods. The fact that you could just slip and fall down a hole like that is insane. Now anytime I go anywhere,
Don't
I
walk in
wonder
the
how many
woods.
massive voids are right below my feet that I could fall into at any moment."
Animals
But
die like
that
this
didn't
all the
deter
time.
Edward and James. They quickly secured their rope to a nearby tree and began descending into the steep cave. What they found inside was nothing short of breathtaking. That tiny opening gave way to a vast chasm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
This
awesome.
is a big one, man.
I mean, I don't want to do this,
However,
but that's
before
awesome.
they could fully take in the beauty of the
All over
cavern,
Georgia and
things took a
Tennessee,
dark turn.
North Carolina.
Just seconds into the cave, the two discovered what looked like human remains scattered throughout.
Oh, here we go again.
That's comforting human bones, huh?
This cave serial
Look
killers are.
behind you. There's like a little shrine of them. There's like, oh, that's a cranium.
Pleasant.
Dude, is that a human?
Pleasant.
No, it's awfully round.
Yeah, that looks human, man.
That doesn't necessarily make. I don't know.
That's
I'm
a
not a
femur.
bone expert.
From there, they continued exploring the cave as it kept getting bigger the further they
Okay,
went into it.
huge.
They also discovered old caving equipment like ropes and harnesses already secured to
So
the
people
walls,
have been there.
a detail that only deepened the mystery surrounding the bones they had found earlier.
So if you find, I'm going to ask you because you're our resident expert in caving. If you find
That's true.
gear like that set up, do you trust it? Do you use it?
No, I don't think so. I remember
You have to
Dave
do
bringing
your own
his
thing.
bringing his own, doing everything.
Even if it looks like fresh, like, okay, somebody used this 2 months ago. Are you still like, no, I'm going to use my own thing?
I mean, I would have to do my analysis by doing the following. Dave, should we trust that or
Yeah. Dave, what do you think?
Dave?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Set
If
it
they
up.
did belong to a person, as the two suspected, it was possible they belonged to a previous explorer. This explorer likely had an accident
Or a
and
serial
died in the
killer.
cave without ever making it out. On their way in, they did find scattered bones right below the entrance. These were likely the remains of people who accidentally fell into the otherwise unassuming hole. However, the bones they found further inside were
this
too
thing
far
is
from the entrance
huge.
to have belonged
They
to
are.
someone who simply fell in. It's also possible that these remains belong to
These
the
are
victim
all
of a
over our
deranged
area here,
killer.
I'm telling you.
Someone who either had ended a person's life within the cave, or maybe threw the person into the hole and later dragged their body further into the cave. Some people, however, weren't convinced and accused the brothers of faking the whole thing, especially since the way Edward and James handled some of these remains felt a bit too casual. That said, while YouTubers faking these finds to get a viral video isn't uncommon, this one turned out to be true. The video received several comments from experts confirming that these remains were indeed real and human, with one such person writing, "My girlfriend and I are watching from Canada.
Oh.
We're both paramedics.
Boosted abuse
Definitely a human
is the
femur
user.
and a human
Very
cranium.
trustworthy.
But this raised an even bigger question. When did the owner of these bones pass away? If they disappeared into the cave in the last few decades, this discovery could end up cracking an unsolved case. I ended up contacting the action-adventure twins to see what they had to say or if they had made any police reports afterwards. We ended up contacting the authorities about the bones. They were determined to be human and were apparently a Native American that either slipped and fell into the pit cave or was thrown in there after death and are 2,000 years old.
Wow.
While this did rule out
That's
the
cool.
possibility that these bones belonged to someone more recent, the despair of
Now, I
whoever
wonder,
ended up in
when
that
you find
cave
bones
alone
like that, if you're
2,000 years
reporting, do they
ago
just
is
close the
just as
cave until
impossible to
investigation
ignore.
is done, or
They
like
likely
what?
fell into the cave,
what
somehow
happens.
survived the
It's
fall,
weird that you're asking
and
me.
ended up starving to death
I just
while
wonder.
looking
I've
for a
had
way
one, yeah.
out.
Okay, well, that was
On
a cool
October
case.
28, 2004,
David
50-year-old
Shaw.
Australian airline pilot and scuba diver David John Shaw broke the world record for the deepest successful dive in history.
We've covered this
He
before.
achieved
So
this
there's
by
several of
reaching a
these that we
depth
have
of
covered.
270 meters in Bushman's Hole, one of the deepest freshwater caves in the world. The sole purpose of this dive was to break the record.
Several people have asked us,
However,
by the
when
way,
he
if we
reached
would
the
dive
bottom,
at Bushman's
he found
Gad, which is
something that
the
stopped him in
cave
his
right here in
tracks.
South Africa, and the
He
answer is
found
yes,
the
of course.
body of Dion Dreyer, a 20-year-old scuba diver who died in that cave 10 years ago. Since humans start sinking after a certain depth, Dion's body never floated back to the surface. Given the extreme difficulty and danger of diving this
Probably
deep,
true.
any plans to retrieve his body were also cancelled at the time of his death. However, a plaque in his name was installed near the diving point of Bushman's Hole, which is how Dave knew what he was looking at. After staring at the body in shock for a few seconds, Dave immediately got closer and tried to retrieve Dion. Unfortunately, after a decade in the water, his tanks were firmly stuck in the mud. More importantly, Dave had already spent too much time at that depth. Staying any longer would have been fatal. So he decided to tie a line to Dion's body and return to the surface with the newfound information.
Wasn't very steep, and when I saw the body over to my left, I thought, oh, that's the end of going deep. So just tied my line to it, and by then I was Well, we won't discuss that. and so I just flicked the line.
The news of Dion's body being discovered spread quickly, eventually culminating in Dave talking to his parents and promising to retrieve it. After a couple months of preparation, the next dive was scheduled for January 8th, 2005.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dave's heroic attempt to bring closure to Dion's parents ended in a catastrophe far worse than anyone could have imagined. Cave diving, aka underwater cave exploration, is far more dangerous than regular spelunking.
That's Brian.
The divers have to manage their oxygen levels at all times, avoid often sharp rock formations, and explore the cave system in a far darker environment, because even the brightest flashlights aren't as effective underwater, all while making sure they don't get lost. Add in the immense pressure of 270 meters of water above, it becomes an almost insurmountable challenge, one that only a handful of people on the planet are capable of overcoming. So,
True.
everything needed to be perfect for Dave's operation to succeed. He worked with police divers, the defense force, and medics to ensure everything went smoothly, and they planned the dive second by second. According to the plan, Dave would use the line he tied earlier to reach Dion's body. After cutting it loose and putting it in a special body bag, he would begin his descent. This descent would have taken around 12 hours to avoid decompression sickness. So instead of holding on to Dion's body the entire time, Dave would pass it along to his longtime friend Don Shirley at 220 meters. Don would then hand it over to support divers located at various depths and keep checking on Dave for any issues. Sadly, this is not how it went.
Well, do you see the mix?
An hour and a half after the
485.
dive began, the surface crew received an ominous message from the support divers, claiming that they hadn't seen any activity from Dave or Don. Shortly after, another message reached the surface. This one was from Don, stating that he's seeing Dave in the distance, and he's not moving.
Don's okay. Dave's looking okay.
While this message was making its way to the surface, Don tried to reach Dave himself. He exceeded his target depth, which resulted in his rebreather controller imploding.
Yeah.
This also led to him suffering from oxygen poisoning and vomiting while 220 meters
Extreme
under the water.
nausea.
Fortunately,
Vomit. He barely
managed to keep
survived
hold
this.
of the line and was eventually pulled out of the water still breathing. Dave, however, didn't make it. But when rescue teams pulled out his body, they made a shocking discovery. Dion's body was attached to the recovery line as well.
Yeah.
Following the recovery, investigators looked at the footage captured by the waterproof camera mounted on Dave's head. This is what they saw. Though I should mention, I couldn't find the raw footage from that camera. The only clip of it online is narrated by Don himself, Dave's best friend who we just talked about, who almost died trying to save his life. The footage shows Dave moving alongside the line to find Dion's body, and then trying to put it in the bag. Unfortunately, this is where the plan started falling apart. Dion's body was unexpectedly loose from the mud and was moving around uncontrollably. Dave tried to complete his mission despite this, only to end up getting tangled in the line.
This line is just getting everywhere because this body is floating. It's not stuck. Everything's moving. Right. Light gets caught on the line there.
Yeah. It
Move
happened
out the
so
way.
easily.
Still got a nice bright line.
All this effort caused him to neglect his gauges, resulting in Dave feeling the effects of nitrogen narcosis, which include poor judgment, trouble concentrating, and reduced muscle and nerve function. Put simply, he lost everything he needed to survive at that depth. He tried to cut the tangled line, but the lack of coordination made it near impossible. As he was struggling to stay conscious, the last thing he saw was the terrifying view of Dion's lifeless face mask staring back at him. Shortly after this, Dave passed away.
Yeah.
The only silver lining was that the tangled line kept Dion's body close to Dave, allowing him to successfully complete his mission by recovering the body, only at the cost of his own life.
Yep. And there's that's what I'm saying. He was trying to do that good deed and return that body. Like, families really appreciate it.
Yeah,
so you are risking your life doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, Dave Not Coming Back is the name of a documentary that goes into great detail on everything that took place there and what happened. And we reacted to that video actually twice. The first time we reacted without knowing anything, just like we always do it, and we made a bunch of assumptions and they didn't end up true. So we did another one to correct that, to clear the the mistakes that we added, and both of them are available on the channel. I will say though that the videos that we saw before with Action Adventure Twins and some of the cave exploration, that they were doing and stuff like that, those guys are insane. Like, they go into all these crazy caves and they do stuff that I have no interest in doing, to be honest. And it's probably the other way around too, where they look at us going into these underwater caves and they're like, I have no interest in doing any of that. So it's kind of a mutual respect in a way. But in case you haven't seen the first video we reacted to, where I think he was in Tennessee or wherever it was that they went, and I think it was just one of them that went solo and he got gnarly as well. I'm going to leave it right here and check it out. But yeah, we reacted to Dave Shaw. We reacted to a few of the ones that they cover in this video, but pretty interesting. Still, the shoes inside that mine, though. What's up with that? Where did those shoes come from?
There seems to be a thing with serial killers and shoes, which I never knew until we
okay.
watched this. So, thank you. Bye, everybody.